Hi, welcome to class. A few things that we discussed in class today. The first one was that it is a new grading period. And I did a quick reminder to everyone, if you go to Google Classroom, last week was the start of the new grading period because I want to give you more time to make sure you can finish your projects. If you haven't, double check week 3.1 that you turned in all of that work. So that way you're starting fresh, you have an A, and you keep it that way. So that way you're not feeling like you're drowning at the very end. But today in class, what we talked about is make sure you do the quote of the days. Those ones are easy. But we did focus on how does America create a national holiday. So if you open that up with me, and let me find it. So it should look like this. We first talked about in class, and we had a little bit of fun talking about what event would you make a national holiday. So make sure you answer that question. It can be any holiday, it can be silly, it can be something like your birthday. We went through, sorry. There's 4 sources. So source A, and then all you have to do is in the yellowish color box, you have to summarize what is on the left. So we read this together in class. I am not going to read it to you because I want you to try to read it. But I kind of copy and pasted general answers that the class talked about. So source A is George Washington talking, and I highlighted in green a lot of the important parts because this one is a little bit wordy. That what the classes, my first 2 classes decided was that this source really talks about Congress decided to make Thanksgiving, that it's kind of important to know who creates these holidays, that originally it started with Congress, and that it was mainly because of religion that they wanted to unite people, that they wanted Thanksgiving to originally be used as a day of prayer, which we kind of talked about in class was a little hypocritical, that they had just created the Constitution about freedom of religion, but then they were trying to force people on a national holiday to spend a day of praying to God. So that was originally its purpose. Source B, and it's really important you read the background of these because it kind of helps you to understand the reading. So this was a letter written by Sarah Hale to President Lincoln. At this time period, people were celebrating Thanksgiving on different days depending on what state you lived in. So she basically wrote him a letter, which you can read, trying to make a unified day where everyone celebrated it on the same day. So these are a few answers that the students had written. They tried to unite people, and then it shifted power that now the president is in charge of deciding a national holiday, which eventually has to be approved by Congress. But she basically writes to President Lincoln begging that let's unite people and have every state practice Thanksgiving on the same day. Source C was pretty much Lincoln's response to the letter. But the background is really important. So this is written during the Civil War, which obviously they were fighting over slavery between the North and the South. So when you read through this, his main point was, again, to unite people, that he recognizes that there's widows, which he uses, and there's all sorts of people dying, and people are scattered all over the country fighting, that let's stop for one day, which he decides is the last Thursday of November, which it still is today, and unite, and let's stop fighting. Let's use it as a moment for prayer, to be respectful of the people that have died, and use Thanksgiving as that he wanted a moment of rest for the people fighting, which is pretty fascinating that Lincoln kind of grabbed a hold of Thanksgiving to make it a national holiday to get people to stop fighting and unite and realize they have common things. Source D was a very interesting one when you read through it. And then there's 2 pictures that go with it if you click on them to make them bigger. But the big thing from this one was it was written by Roosevelt, that it was during the Great Depression era, that they wanted to change Thanksgiving. I'm sorry. The president wanted to change Thanksgiving because of economy, that he realized if we had Thanksgiving earlier, people will do Christmas shopping earlier, which helps stimulate the economy. He also felt this was a great way to unite people. So he tried to move Thanksgiving. Eventually that did not work because some people celebrated early, some celebrated it how we do now, the end of the month. till eventually they decided to create one day for Thanksgiving. But originally they started Thanksgiving, or trying to change the date rather, because of economy. For your last part, formative performance tasks, which I've been telling all the classes, please, I beg you, this is worth the most points. This is a mastery grade. You are answering this question. Explain which of these events do you think is the most important to the formation of the holiday of Thanksgiving? So go back through these sources. Do you think the biggest reason Thanksgiving is a holiday is source D, because we need it for our economy, because it creates shopping? Do you think it was source C, that it was a tool to unite people out of war? Do you think it's source B, that it was just a great way, again, to unite people, to have it on the same day? Or do you think it was really a big national holiday because of religion, that they use it as a day of prayer? Once you pick one, you can pick two of those sources. You can copy and paste directly from the source to back up your claim, and write a short paragraph explaining what was the big reason why we created Thanksgiving. Once you do that, please turn it in.